Now let us take a look at how to perform group by operation using Power Query Editor. And also we will take a look at the fuzzy grouping, which is very specific to Power Query Editor. And followed by this, we'll walk you through a simple case study wherein we'll take a look at how to convert the multiple currencies into single currency. To start with, let us explore how we can perform group by operation in Power Query Editor. The fuzzy grouping is not possible in the Power BI desktop. Instead, we'll give you a demo on the Power BI cloud. First of all, what is group by in SQL? In SQL, using SQL query, also we can perform group by. What is group by in SQL? So grouping the rows that have the same values to get the summary data. That is what group by is all about in simple term. There are two types of grouping operations you can perform when it comes to Power Query Editor. One is the aggregate. You can aggregate a column by using an aggregate function, and then you can perform a row operation. This is very specific to the row option. The second one is very specific to Power BI. Supposing your manager has given a data set something like this. He wants you to perform, or he wants you to generate a report, something like this. So if you take a look at this data set, for each country we have only one row. Whereas when you look at the total sales and total quantity related values, here also you can see only one value, but it is an aggregated value. Using some function, they have aggregated it. So using some function, total sales, they achieved it. Using some function, they were able to get the total number of units sold, okay, in United States. For example, in this case, if you perform group by operation using a country column, what it does is it groups the rows that have the same values. So United States, and we could see the United States here, right? So it groups these rows, and then it apply the aggregation function. What is the aggregation function? Sum function, and then the other one is here also sum function we have used it. So these two, the sum function is called as aggregation function. What is aggregation? It is also called as a summarization. Both these two terms are same. There is no difference between these two terms. So in some cases, right, they interchangeably use the term either aggregation or summarization. So you should be familiar with these terms, okay, but both represent the same. If I perform the group by operation based on the country column, and when I use the aggregation function sum, so you will get an output, you will get an output something like this. Alright, supposing you wanted to perform a group by operation based on more than one column, country and region, these two columns put together. If you want to do a group by operation, what happens is in this case it will identify the similar rows based on the combination of these two columns. United States in East, we have only one record is there, and United States West, we have only one record is there, whereas United States South has two records are there. Since these two rows have the same values, it grouped these two rows under a single row, and then it apply the aggregation on these two columns. So if you look at here United States in this thing, South, United States South, you could see that the value is 10 here, which means the 5 plus 5 is 10, and so 8764 plus 4251, it gives us this value. Similarly for the other cities, it did the group by. Okay, if I have to perform, or if I have to write SQL query, how it looks like, it will be something like this. Select sum of sales and sum of quantity from, let's say the table name is sales, and group by country. Okay, if you when you use this query, when you execute this query, so it will produce an output something like this. Similarly, right, if I wanted to perform a group by operation based on more than one column, so country comma region, so this one will produce this output. Hope you understood what is a group by, how to perform an aggregation while doing the group by. Okay, whenever you use group by operation, for example, right, so whenever you use group by, you have to use sum or the other aggregation functions. What are the other aggregation functions? Sum function and average, minimum, maximum, count. These are all called your aggregation functions. So first you need to group the rows that are having the similar values, and then you need to use any one of these aggregation function. In this example, we have used the sum function to find out the total sales and total quantity. Now let us head back to Power BI desktop and we'll take a look at how to perform group by operation. So here I have uploaded a file by the name of AGG sales, and here if you take a look at the values that are part of the AGG sales, we could see that in the country ID column, US stands for United States, AU stands for Australia, and Germany, NG. But if you take a look at here, for Germany we have two different naming convention is used. So GER is Germany and G is also Germany, but there is a inconsistency in the way they use the name or the abbreviation for the same country, right? So they have used two different abbreviation to represent the same country. So there is an inconsistency. Ideally, it should have been either a GE in both the places, in both the records, or it should have been GER in both the records. But here it is not like, there is inconsistency. This is not good. This needs to be addressed. Similarly, when you take a look at this record, the country ID is USS, whereas it is US. Since we know this, when you look at this data itself, right? So we can tell very clearly, even this one also part of US group. But when it comes to Power BI or Power Query Editor, how it knows US and USS, these two values are same? How does it know? So in that case, we have two options. One is we need to address this data inconsistency. The other option is you can go to the Power Query Editor. You can go to the Power Query Editor on cloud service. And then you can use something called fuzzy grouping. So with that, these kind of inconsistent values will get addressed automatically using fuzzy grouping. So now I'll just show you how to perform the group by operation in Power BI Query Editor itself. So if you want to perform the group by operation, click on the transform ribbon and you just select group by. Look here, you can find the group by icon here. You need to click on this, and when you click on group by, it will open a dialog box something like this. So here you can find basic and advanced. There are two options are available. So specify the column to group by and decide output. So the column ID here is, we want to perform a group by operation on this country column. Hence I'm not going to select anything else. Country ID, I'm going to leave it as it is. So the next one is, we want to find out the total sales. For that, we need to give some meaningful name for this total sales value. So here, what kind of operation you want to perform, what kind of aggregation that you want to, I want to use the sum function, not average, sum function, I want to use it. So select the type of aggregation function that you want to apply it, right? And in the next one, you can find on, on which column you want to perform the sum of sales. So this is equivalent to my select query. I just type it here. This is equivalent to select sum of sales from this is my AGG sales, my table name is AGG sales, and group by which one? Country ID, right? So group by country ID. It is equivalent to this. Got it? So I'm going to click on OK now. Now you can see that the values got aggregated, but unfortunately the USS and US, though these two records are same, but while it was doing the group by operation, it considers these two records as a separate record. I'll just undo this operation now, group by operation. I'm going to undo it now. Okay, what happens here is, since you have 4 US related records are available, it's supposed to do the group by, it is supposed to group all the US related rows to get the summary of the total sales and then summary of the total quantity. Since the naming convention is different here, only the 3 records which have the similar values like US, 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 it groups only these 3 records and it isolates this one, because here the naming, there is a typo here. First we need to make sure that whatever the data we have it is considered consistent value or not. The values are supposed to be consistent. What I am going to do in order to make it consistent, I am going to type, for example, Germany. So ger, instead of ger, you replace ger by GE. If I replace the GR by GE, what will happen? These two records will have the same values. Look here, so there is no inconsistency. Similarly, I am going to do the same thing for US. Replace the values UWS by US only. And then if I do the group by, it makes sense. Now our data looks pretty decent. We don't see any inconsistency here. Even in the region, it is pretty consistent. So next step is you need to do the group by. Just by clicking on this, it will open a dialog box. Okay, here you can see basic, advanced. There are 2 different options are there. Let us use only the basic at this moment. So we want to do group by based on this column. We want to do the group by based on this column and then perform the aggregation. So here what I need is total sales, and here I'm going to use sum function, the aggregation function, and then the values or sum of sales, perform sum of sales on this AGG sales data set and click on OK. So 23138. Look here. If you look here very closely, if you take a closer look here, you can see that for US, all the 4 records got grouped together correctly. The UWS has gone now. Even that UWS record also made part of this US record, because we have replace the USS value by US. Okay, we are done with this. The next thing is I'm going to click on the gear icon which is next to this group rows. Okay, see all these steps whatever we carried out, it is captured here. And look here, so the group row is the last one. When I click on this gear icon, you can see the dialog box, and instead of basic, let's say I want to select advanced, and here I'm going to add the aggregation, one more, total quantity, and in this case also I'm going to use an aggregation function called sum. And which column we want to do the aggregation? Quantity, sum of quantity you want to find out. So sum of sales, total sales and total quantity we need to find out. For this you use the aggregation function sum here. Also we specify the respective columns. I am going to click on OK. Good, it did the perfect job, right? So it aggregated the values correctly. The next one is we have something called all rows. I just click on this gear icon to get this dialog box. Here what I do is, okay, what we will do is we will perform group by operation based on more than one column. So in this case country and region, based on these two columns you group the values and then perform the aggregation. Click on OK. Now you can see that US South only one record is there, US North one record is there, and US East one record is there. So what does it signifies here? So here when we compare these two things here, we can see that almost 11 records are there and here we have only 9 records are there. So in this case what happened, US South only one record is there, US East also only one record is there. I just select United States and go to this one and then apply the filter, and I'm going to select only the US. We have 4 records. Look here, US East 2 and US East 5. So these two things put together 7. US East region should have 7. Look here, it is 7. Here it is 7 here. So it did the aggregation perfectly. Very good. So we are done with the aggregation by grouping more than one column, the country and region. Next I will perform all row operation. What is all row operation? I just go to this gear icon, I just click on this. So here in this place I'm going to click on add aggregation. I'm going to say something like country region. Alright, so I'm going to select the all rows function and this operation. Okay, when you select all rows you will not be able to see anything here. Okay, all rows, because we are going to perform all rows operation. When I click on OK, let us see what happens. Look here, for each row in this all rows, when we did the all rows operation, we can see table here. When you click alongside this table, you can see in each table what values are there. So this helps us to find out the detailed records, how the value 7 got aggregated. So if I want to do the breakup, so these two records, right? So 2 plus 5, 7, and these two values put together we get this value. Okay, if somebody wants to know, so how did we get this one? Can I get the transaction level data, itemized transaction. Look here, this 7, how did we get 7 here? So by grouping the country ID and performing group country ID in a region, we are able to get the total quantity is 7. For each grouped values, if you want to see the itemized or the transaction level data, the detailed data, you can use by using all rows operation, all rows function, we can include that feature, right? So for each aggregated values for this and this, right? So what is the it's kind of a drill down. It's kind of a drill down. So this is kind of a drill up and this kind of drill down. If you want to drill down for each and every record, how I got 7, when you click on the table alongside this, we could see that, right? This one, right? And let's see, instead of having table here, we want to make these records, these two records, or in this case, right? I just click on the table here. Sorry, not the table. Here also we have this one. Let me just, if you click on here, so for for every record, see for this record we could see only one record is there, and for this also we have only one record, and for this one we have 2 records are available. If you want to make these the detailed records, right, so as part of this one, we can find an icon, something like a double arrow. You need to click on this. When you click on this, what will happen is it will expand all the values. Look here, country ID, region, quantity and sales, and okay, so this is the one, you will find it. So what I am going to do is, so I want to make the detailed transaction also along with the grouped values. You can do it like this. Look here, US East, we have 2 records, isn't it? But here in the aggregated column, if you see a total quantity 7, it will repeat it. There will be a duplicate here, but you can compare side by side how I got 7 by including the transaction level data also along with the grouped values. So this is pretty much group by operation. This is how we can do it in Power Query Editor. And the next one is how we can perform fuzzy grouping in Power Query Editor on cloud. Okay, I'll just show you how to perform the same in the Power BI cloud service. So for this, you need to go to the browser. So look here, this is my Power BI cloud service. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this plus sign, and see, in your case what you need to do is you can go to app.powerbi.com website. Here you can go and sign up. To sign into this Power BI cloud service, you need to first sign up to get the credentials. Once you get the credentials, you should be able to sign into Power BI cloud service. So in this case, you need to have the official email ID. You can use your college email ID if you are working in a college, or if you are a student, you can use college email ID as right. So to do the sign up, if you are working for a company, you can use your company email ID to get the credentials. Okay. So this is what Power BI cloud service. This is on cloud. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'll show you how to perform the same stuff, the group by operation in Power BI cloud service, and also we'll take a look at how to perform fuzzy grouping on cloud. So here what I'm going to do is, so ignore all these things. Once you sign into the Power BI cloud service, okay, you will find something like this, right? So home, favorites, recent. Let's not worry about all the things. I'll walk you through in detail in the latest session, all these items. Okay, so now let us create a new workspace. What is a workspace? Workspace is something like your folder in Windows operating system. For example, if you click on this greater than sign here, it will open as well. See, these are the folders or the workspaces that I created on cloud. So for demonstration purpose, I'm going to create a new workspace on this Power BI Cloud Service. I just clicked on it. So you need to specify the workspace name. I'm going to say development underscore workspace. Sorry, instead of saying workspace, development sandbox. Okay, let's see, development one sandbox, save. So, and if you go to say, look here on top, once you create your workspace name, you just think this is a folder on cloud. Okay, so you can see the folder name here, or nothing but, which is nothing but the workspace name. Just beneath this you will find a new icon. You just click on this down arrow, and in this context menu you can find the data flow, data set, dashboard, scorecard. These are the options are available. You need to click on data flow. So what is a data flow? So what is a data flow? Now the question is, what is a data flow? Data flow is nothing but the Power Query editor on the cloud. See, this Power Query editor is available in your Power BI desktop, which is part of your laptop. The same interface, the Power Query editor, you can get it using data flow. Okay, so Power Query editor on cloud, that is what we are going to do. For that purpose we have selected data flow by clicking the new, right? And the next step is add new tables. So I'm going to upload, I'm not going to upload anything here. Look here, I just go and select the data source. My data source is a CSV file. Here what I'm going to do is d:dat1 and here aggsales.csv, and the next one is the gateway name. You need to specify the gateway name. When you click on the down arrow, you will find the gateway name. And the next one is Windows kind. The authentication kind is Windows, and if you click on this here, only Windows, and here welcome, you can use welcome. And the password, you need to specify your Windows password. So now what is this? Why should I specify the Windows folder name and the file that is located under this folder? Why should I specify this one? If you specify this, what will happen is, using this gateway, Power BI Cloud Service will try to access the data that is available in your laptop, in your local server. From the cloud you can read the data from your laptop or from your local server. Okay, so you need to specify this correctly. So in my case, look here, so I look here, aggsales.csv is available in where? d:dat1. the file name is aggsales.csv, d:dat1 aggsales.csv. That's it, and I'm going to click on next. Let's see what happens. So in order to enable the Power BI Cloud Service to read the aggsales.csv file from your local disk, you need to have a gateway. So what is gateway? You just go to the Power BI desktop. What you do is, if you want to download it side by side with me, you need to go to this website, go to the Google, and what you need to do is you need to go here and then go to Google and download Power BI desktop. Already I just typed it. If you go to the Microsoft site and if you scroll down, you will find on the right side the on-premises data gateway. Here, download the standard mode. I'll just show you how to click on this one. That's it. Look here. Here it is being downloaded currently. Once this one gets downloaded successfully, you just click on this exe file. When you once you click on this one, it will open the installation window, right? So, and then when you keep clicking on it until you find the installation successful, you are done. Okay, it's pretty simple. It's that much simple. In my case, I have already installed the gateway in my local system, the standard gateway. How do I check that whether the gateway is running or not? You need to go to the menu, start menu. You just type gateway here. Look here, I already installed on-premises gateway and personal mode also, but I installed both. But you need to, if you install standard mode, that is more than sufficient. So this is the standard mode. I just click on open. It will take some time to open that. Let us wait till system. That is to check whether the gateway is running on my system or not, in my local system. The gateway should run on your local system. If your gateway is not installed in your local laptop or local server, so Power BI Cloud Service will not be able to read the file from the cloud to your local laptop or your local server. So in order to read the data, to read your local server data from your Power BI Cloud Service. So look here, I already installed this one. So I don't want to install once again. Okay, you need to make sure that you are installing the gateway in your local system. So that's it. So to check whether it is running or not, right? So I just clicked on it. Let's wait for some time. Okay, it will open it. So if you find it is running, gateway running, that means it is running successfully. Fine. And then only you should be able to perform. Look here, in my case, I'm able to, or the Power BI Cloud Service was able to read the data which is located in my operating system successfully because of the gateway, right? You need to specify the gateway name like I've shown you earlier, right? Or I'll just go back and show you one more time. For example, you just go back here. So here the gateway name. So you can specify whatever the name for the gateway while you install this gateway software in your local laptop. Okay, so here I have used I specified the deep neuron, right? So deep neuron gateway. So hence I have selected this gateway which is running in my local system, and then the Windows authentication, username, password, you need to specify it, and then click on next. It is that much simple. Okay, now it is doing fine. So now I could see that it was able to read the data from this file successfully on cloud. So the next step is I'm going to do the transformation. When I click on the transform data, it opens up the Power Query editor on the cloud. It will take for a while. You need to wait for some time. So now we got the data. We can see the data on Power Query editor, which is running on my Power BI Cloud Service, Okay, so now what we will do is we will do the same group by operation on the cloud also. When you click on the transform ribbon on the cloud, you can see the interface. All these interfaces are similar to my Power BI desktop. And look here you have group by and all these things, right? So group by, transpose, reverse rows, count rows, use first row, all these things. The Power Query, this is Power Query on cloud. Okay, fine, we got it everything. Now the next step is group by. Perform group by. But in this case, what we did, we just specified the AGG sales.csv file location on cloud, right? So in my data file, I could see a lot of inconsistency here. But in the case of Power BI desktop, for the sake of or for the illustration purpose, we used replace values to address the inconsistency in these values. So earlier we had, you remember in the data set, look here, so this is what, right? So USSS, USS. Ideally this one supposed to be US, right? So you have an extra S is there here. There is a typo here. But you need to make sure that all the values related to US are similar. Only then the group by will be successful. It will group the similar US values and then it does the aggregation on sales and quantity. So one way is you replace USS by US. That's what we did it in the Power BI desktop locally, right? So now we are on Power BI cloud service. Let us not use the same approach. If you right click on it, you will find all the options. Look here, you will find the replace values here. You can do it, but instead of using the replace values, in this case, oddly we have few records. In the real-time scenario, we have huge volume of data, 25 million records, 15 million records, the weekly data and all. If you see here, more than 50 million records will be there. So in that kind of situation, if you do replace values, right, and we do not know what are the other things are there, right? So USS is there, or some small s will be there somewhere, and the small u they would have used it, and capital S they would have used it. Instead of spending time in exploring or finding out the inconsistency within this data set, simply what we will do is we have an option called fuzzy grouping. With that we can do group by. So what I am going to do now is I just click on group by. Look here, you have something else called use fuzzy grouping. This option is not available in our Power BI desktop. How many of you noticed? This option is not available. Here what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. Total sales. So in this case, I'm not going to do any data transformation. In the sense, I'm not going to use replace values. Okay, I simply rely on use fuzzy grouping. So here total sales, here I'm going to use the sum function on sales, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use advanced. Okay, let us start with the simple one. Sorry, country ID, here use fuzzy grouping, here total sales. Sales, and let us see what happens if I click on OK. Now I just selected the use fuzzy grouping and I'm going to expand this one. You can see there is something called similarity threshold, and ignore case is by default selected. Group by combining text box also selected by default. Similarity shows similarity scores. This we will see it later, and I'll just go ahead with this similarity threshold value. First of all, what is fuzzy grouping? The idea of fuzzy grouping is to perform a group by operation. It uses an approximate match algorithm for the text strings. So the Power Query uses something called Jaccard similarity algorithm. It uses something called Jaccard similarity algorithm. It's Jaccard, Jaccard similarity algorithm to do the fuzzy grouping. To do the fuzzy grouping, it uses this algorithm. Right, so this algorithm, what it does is it measures the similarity between pairs of instances. For example, you have US, USS, and you have some capital U and small s is there. It will try to find out, are they similar? So this string and this text string is more or less similar. It will ignore the case. Since you mentioned ignore case, it will ignore the case. Even though it is a smaller yes, here we have capital S, right? It will ignore that. It will consider everything as US. It literally go by US. So all these are same, and even this one also somewhat similar to this one. Okay, somewhat similar to this one. So what happens is here, for each group of rows, right? For each group of rows, the Power Query picks the most frequent instance as the canonical instance, right? So it is more or less similar, right? So using the Jacob similarity algorithm, right? So what it does is it uses something called approximate match. Approximately, it's all same. You just think that way, okay? So that's how it works. So now I just click on OK. Let's see what happens. So it's still running. Good. So it did the perfect job. We don't see the duplicate value, right? So we don't see the inconsistent value. Now let us compare the output of this one with the output of this one. In this case, yes, I have used, let me do one thing. I just go back to this one. So what I am going to do is, instead of using all these things, right, I just what I do is I just simply right click on it and then duplicate it. This is very much helpful, this duplicate option, so that you have the, if you want to refer the previous steps, whatever you have done, right, so you can go back and see it here. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo the thing whatever I did it. Okay, so in this case I'm going to remove this one, I'm going to undo this one here, replaced value, yeah, so up to this let it be there. And see, look here, I mistakenly removed this one. So in this case I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to, yes, delete it. So I'm going to do the duplicate one more time. In this case, what I'm going to do is expanded query region. I'm going to undo this. The query rows, what I'm going to do is I just click on this gear icon. So here I'm going to remove this one, delete this one, and here for testing purpose I'm going to delete this one. Just by clicking on this 3 dots, this is called ellipse. When you click on this, you will have options. So if you want to delete this one, right, you can delete it. So in this case, we want to compare the group by operation done in both the Power BI desktop Power Query editor and then Power Query editor on cloud values output, right? I just click on OK. Look here. So these values are matching. US 23138, and in my local thing 28792, for Australia and Germany 53444, and N is at 8642, right? So both are, so but what is the difference between the Power Query editor on my desktop and Power Query editor on cloud? So what, now how does this fuzzy grouping differs from the plain or non-fuzzy grouping? So this is a non-fuzzy grouping, this is a non-fuzzy grouping, but here the difference is we don't have to clean the data, we don't have to address the inconsistent data, right? So using approximate match algorithm, approximate match algorithm, right, it does the matching between the values. Since US and USS are somewhat similar, it grouped everything into single one. So now the question is, what is this? I just click on here the gear icon. So what is this similarity threshold here? The similarity threshold is something like sensitivity, how sensitively, right? So what is the sensitivity? See, for example, if I reduce it to zero point 0.6 or something like that, so what happens here, we will see. If you reduce the similarity threshold, it's something like you consider US, USS, everything as same. Okay, but if I, one second, if I go back here and if I increase the threshold value to 0.91, that means the value should be exactly match. It should, the values in the country ID column should exactly match. If it is not matching, you consider as a separate group. I just click on OK. Let's see what happens. Look here. Now you can make it very clearly the difference between, sorry, the lesser threshold similarity value and higher similarity threshold value. Now you should be able to understand with this one. Since I specify the similarity threshold value very high, what happens is it considers strictly, right, the US and US is not same. Something like a sensitivity, right? It should match exactly. US and US should match, and if anything different, little, even if there is a little different, you consider that as a separate group. Okay, I just go back and, but what we need, we want this US value 4241 should also be made part of this one, right? So what we do is, in that case, higher similarity threshold is not much helpful. So you go and select slightly, right? So 72 or 76, something like that. When I click on OK, now it is working fine, right? So both the values are matching. So in simple term, the similarity threshold is an option. Okay, it tells us how or it helps us how similar two values must be to be grouped together. The minimum setting is 0, so it will cause all values to be grouped together. Okay, the maximum values is 1, the default is 0.8, and we have ignore case is available, and then we have group by, sorry, we have ignore case, and what other option, and sorry, I just clicked on this. So here, if I click on this, group by combining text parts. So this algorithm try to combine the text parts, such as combining micro and soft into Microsoft, right, to group values, something like this. Combining text parts also, it does this one. And so now the question is, there is an interesting question. See, for example, I have a country by the name of Indonesia, and for Indonesia they specified IND. In the data set they mentioned like this. For India also they mentioned IND. This is a different thing altogether. Okay, so this here, there is something called data governance issues here. Data governance, this is your data governance related problem. So what do you mean by data governance problem? Right, so each company, the data engineering team, right, they come up with some data governance process in place. As per that, they will strictly inform each location staffs, hey, you need to use this naming convention. So for India, I need to use India. For Indonesia, you need to use IND, something like that. It should not be IND. In case you find something like this, right, so that's the reason why the data exploration part is very much important. As soon as you receive the data, blindly, if you go and do the group by, or if you do any other transformation, or if you directly jump into creating the visuals, bar chart and all the things, it will show some inaccurate value. It leads to some kind of confusion. Before you create your report or dashboard, make sure that you are exploring the data. You need to be familiar with the data. Once you load the data, go and check whether what values are there in each column. Are those values are logically good, right? So for example, the same thing, right? Country ID US, and in another record we have two UWSs. If you find similar, these kind of inconsistent, well, first you need to check with the customers or your manager. So this is US and here we have US. Are these two are same or not? First validate with them, and then you proceed with this, so that you can save a lot of time. This data governance problem, in fact, we have worked for the BCBS Minnesota project in the past. Okay, so we found a lot of data governance related issues. So something similar to this, we found some issues while exploring the data. What do you mean by exploring the data? Simple. You just, in this case, even in the Power Query editor, once you load the data, what you do is you need to check it out. Look here, this is my sales data, right? So here what you do is, first you check all the values are correct, and here the replaced value. Before that, this is the stage, right? So all the values correct. So we have something strange here. This is strange value. UWS and US is there, but whereas here we can see they mentioned correctly, but somewhere there is a typo. Typo is typing mistake. But if you look at the region column values, it is more or less, it is also good, right? So east, west, the naming convention is same, but whereas here it is naming convention is not same. This is also data governance related issues, or maybe a typo issue, right? So as part of data governance, they come up with the naming convention. What kind of naming convention they are supposed to use it across the location, across the the store locations. Got it? So that's the data governance issues. But however, it is our response as a data analyst. You need to bring it to the stakeholders or managers' knowledge in case you find any data consistency related issues. Hope you understood how to perform group by operation, and also you understood what is fuzzy grouping. The fuzzy grouping actually saves a lot of time, isn't it? Supposing you have, as I told you, so you have something called capital U. Somebody has mentioned something like this: capital U and small s, and small u, capital S, U, right? So in that kind of situation, you don't have to go and check everything, right? Simply leave it with fuzzy grouping. It takes care of it. So this wraps up how to perform. This wraps up the group by session.